Dr. NGR Educational and Research Institute, University, Madurai, Chennai. Dr. NGR Educational and Research Institute, University, Madurai, Chennai. Madurai, Chennai.
I would like to start with the words of Dr. Abdullah. Knowledge will give you the power, but character will give you respect. Good morning to all dignitaries, faculties, students, and participants of various institutions for attending this webinar conducted by Department of Physics Phase 2 Campus on Space Technology Application Reaching the Unreached. Well, myself, Dr. S. Chellammon, Professor, Department of Physics, will be your host for the day. I am very happy to extend a warm welcome to our guest of honor and speaker for the day, Mr.D.Gokul, Project Manager, SSLV Scientist, ISRO BOD, IGEN, and also welcome our Joint Register Phase 2 Campus, Dr. S. Ramalingam, Dean Phase 2 Campus, Dr. S. Manivannan, Deputy Dean Academic, Dr. A.R. Arnachalam, and Deputy Dean Admin Professor K. Sendil Kumar, Head of the Department of Physics, Dr. S. Radhakrishnan, Faculties in Department of Physics, Dr. E. Kavita, Dr. J.P. Suchitra, Dr. B. Vidya. This session will give an adequate knowledge on space technology. I request Dr. S. Radhakrishnan, Head of the Department of Physics, to deliver welcome address.
I think there is some problem with HOD's system network issue.
I request our Deputy Dean Academic and Deputy Dean Admin to deliver felicitation address.
Yeah, so thank you, ma'am. So on behalf of Dr. MGR Educational Research Institute, Adalambatu Phase 2 Campus, I would like to welcome you all to this national level webinar on space technology, application reaching the unreached. So first of all, I would wholeheartedly thank our Honorable President, Engineer A.C. Sarun Kumar sir, for giving us this opportunity to conduct this today's webinar, and I really thank him for his enormous support towards conducting a lot of online activities, something like webinar, workshops on recent trends. So first of all, I would like to appreciate and congratulate the Department of Physics, HOD Dr. S. Radhakrishnan sir, and then the team of other members of Physics Department, Dr. Chellamal ma'am, Dr. E. Kavita ma'am, Dr. Suchitra ma'am, and Dr. P. Divya ma'am, who are doing a wonderful effort towards conducting this national level webinar on a very interesting and a very important topic too. So I would like to welcome the speaker, and I also thank him for accepting our invite, Mr. D.Gokul, who's a project manager at ISRO and who's a SSLV scientist, so who has vast experience, especially in the field of rocket science and as well as satellite. So I think today's session is definitely going to be an interesting session. So I think he's going to talk about more about the satellite as well as rocket science as well as space activities. Mangalyaan. So GSLV, PSLV. I think the topic, the areas which he is going to cover today is definitely going to add more value to this particular session, I guess. So I think more participants have registered for this webinar, which shows how important this today's webinar topic is going to be. So on behalf of the university, as well as on behalf of the Adelaide Phase 2 campus, I would like to welcome all the participants for showing your interest towards this today's webinar conducted by Department of Physics, and as well as I really thank and as well as welcome the guest for today's function for accepting the invite to take this wonderful session. So definitely this session, I think it's going to be a great session, and it's going to be a knowledgeable session too. So have a great session and have a great too. Thank you.
I request HOD Dr. S. Radhakrishnan to deliver welcome address.
Ma'am, I think there is some network issue at HOD's end, ma'am. So please proceed with the. Yeah, I think it's online. Yeah.
Sir, am I audible?
Yeah, yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Yes,
Sir,
sir.
am I audible? Am I audible?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, yes.
Yes.
Yes, sir. Start.
Right. I start my welcome. There is some problem. Hello.
Sir.
Hello. Hello.
Carry on, sir.
Good morning to all. I am Dr. Radhakrishnan, Professor and Head of the Department of Physics. Feels proud in welcoming you all for this webinar. First of all, let me thank our President for having granted permission to conduct this webinar. Respected Deputy Dean, both academic and administration, guest of the day, beloved staff, participants and students. First, my welcome goes to our young dynamic Deputy Dean, both academic and administration, Dr. Arunachalam sir and Professor Chandil Kumar sir, for accepting felicitation address for the first physics event after they assumed new assignments. I welcome both of you, sir. My special thanks to Arunachalam sir for undertaking STEAM Yard as per our request.
Thank you, sir. I request our Deputy Dean, Admin, to give some words about our department.
Yeah, thank you, ma'am. Yeah, good morning, everyone. It gives me profound joy to join you all and deliver the felicitation address. At the outset, let me express my deepest sense of gratitude to our Honorable President, Engineer A.C.S. Arun Kumar, for his immediate acceptance towards the conduct of all our academic programs. Today's webinar, organized by Department of Physics, is on the topic Space Technology Application Reach the Unreached. Nowadays, a marvel achieved in space, thanks to the hardworking scientists and technicians. The advancement in technology, which we are enjoying at present, is due to innumerable achievements done in the space sector. I am happy and proud to inform that our team of staff and students achieved in successfully creating 3 femtosatellites satellites in even found a place in Guinness Book of World Records. Our resource person, Mr.D.Gokul, SSLV scientist, ISRO, was also a part of the femtosatellites team. It is an honor that he is with us today to speak on applications of space technology. I am sure his talk will motivate many youngsters towards showing interest in the field. I appreciate the organizers of the Department of Physics, Dr. S. Radhakrishnan, head of the department, and his team for their hard work and dedication in organizing this event. I also wish all the participants who have connected from across the nation a very good luck in their future endeavors. Best wishes and thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you, sirs, for your wonderful words. Dr. Kavita, Professor, Department of Physics, request to deliver introduction about our eminent chief guest.
Thank you, ma'am. Good morning, one and all present here. It's really a privilege for me to introduce the chief guest of the day, Mr.D.Gokul, project manager, SSLV scientist, and Indian Space Research Organization. We all know that we recently launched 3 femto satellites, and Dr. D.Gokul is the main responsible for that. Mr. D.Gokul has nearly 11 years experience at various levels in quality projects, research and development area at Satish Dhawan Space Center, SHAR, Indian Space Research Organization, and Corporandum Universal Limited, Murugappa Group. Currently, he is working as a scientist, senior engineer in System Reliability Group of Solid Propellant Booster Plant in SDSC, SHAR, ISRO, and Deputy Project Manager for Small Satellite Launch Vehicle. He is an expert in quality function management and handling of quality tools for problem solving and decision making. He has worked on various environmental projects and awarded Montilogo Youngest Engineering Award by Daimler, Chrysler, and UNESCO in 2008 and 9. Then EWB Green Award by Engineers Without Borders, India in the year 2008. He has also received the Youngest Industry Youth Icon Award, Tesla Award 2018 by Institute of Engineers, Tiruvallur chapter in the year 2018. Also completed intern auditor on quality management system, ISO 9001-2008. Mr. Gokul has published nearly 30 papers in national and international conferences. He has addressed more than 30 lectures at various prominent institutions like Birla Institute of Technology, Dubai, Sharjah Indian Institute of Technology, IIT Madras, NIT Calicut, AC Technology of Engineering, Anna University, and lots of other colleges. He has also proposed an R&D project on prognostic tool for monitoring reactions based on dielectric principles of rupees 12 lakhs recognized by ISRO Innovation Management. And another project development of low-cost maintenance, mobile solar tech for water purification presented in International Montilogo Award. He is also recipient of Silver Award of Euro 20,000 for the implementation project by Daimler, Chrysler, and UNESCO. One more project on the application of biotechnology for the treatment of dye-house effluent presented in International Montlhery Award and received Bronze Award of Euro 5,000 for the implementation of that project. He has worked as a president for the International Professional Society of Engineers Without Borders, Chennai. We are very fortunate to have such an eminent personality with us. Thank you, sir, for accepting our invitation in your busy schedule. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, madam. Resource person, Mr. D. Gokul, you are a reason for any young academicians. We are honored by your presence on these occasions, sir. We hope everyone enjoy with satisfaction. Once again, our guest of honor and speaker for the day, Mr. D. Gokul, to proceed with his presentation. Sir, we request you to take over the session and share us your knowledge.
Well, good morning to all, the most respected the deans, academic and admin, as well as the head of the department, and the faculty members, students who are watching in the YouTube. So very important, I think, maybe we are all out of COVID and we are back to normal, we can say. So that's what the series of online lectures are coming to end. So in this, I thank our the management of MGR, Dr. MGR University, as well as the Department of Physics to arrange this webinar, especially on the space technology where we have reached to the unreached. So my sincere thankful to all the members. And can I have our presentation on the mock? I think it can be made as a PowerPoint view, ma'am. Fine. Okay, great. So definitely, I think the scenario of today might be like we might be knowing about the ISRO, the NASA, and ESA. Many space agencies are working towards on space applications. Very important, one prominent, yes, ISRO has always been with that. So we see that almost like after the independent India, the space technology has taken up an immediate increased level to reach to the higher of reaching Mars and moons and various places. So that is what today ISRO always like been on the top towards the global level and see how we could able to make up the reaching the unreached of space applications. That is what I'm going to present here. So already I think they have explained about my profile. So nothing more than that, we can enter the space. So we will see, I think the Indian space like the rocket is nothing but like we develop a rocket, we make a satellite and put it in the orbit and see how best we can do that. So the prominently you can see the picture what has been put up. It is not that rocket has been developed by something like a NASA or ESA or a Japan or Chinese. If you see somewhere in the year of 18th century to 19th century, the rocket was developed by our own Indian, there's none other like Tipu Sultan. So the Tipu Sultan during the like a war with the British people in the 18th century, he is the first person who could able to develop a rocket with the gunpowder and involved in the war. This picture still it is there in the biggest poster in the NASA. If you go visit the NASA, you can see this picture. So that is the prominent that Indians have already started developing rocket not in the 19th century or 20th century. It is initiated in the 18th century. From there, it is initiated towards the global level, and now every country like Russia or US or European, everybody started launching the rocket. The prominent, the brain has come from Indian. We all should be proud of that. Next slide. So ISRO, I think you all know well about ISRO. Yeah, we are always seeing the rocket launch is happening everywhere across our country in various applications. But how the ISRO has been initiated, who are all the eminent personality? If you see, I think which is displayed in your screen front. So you can see that the first person, like you can see, like it's like our Vikram Sarabhai. So the Vikram Sarabhai is the one of the father of our Indian Space Research Organization, and he is the person who's the founder of ISRO in 1960s, and he has a long visionary to make the space applications to the unreached of our country, the people, and also like how the technology can enhance the global needs as well as country need. So he is the person who have initiated, and now because of his vision, the ISRO has been highlighted. The next person is Satish Dhawan. If you try to see like Satish Dhawan, I think he is the next like emperor who brought out all the infrastructure development. It is not so easy that we can able to make a rocket and satellite with the very least component. You need a big infrastructure. You need a launch pad. You need a testing facility. And there are days like I think ISRO has taken a small rocket in this bicycle and satellite in the bullock cart. But he is the person have a long visionary in bringing out lots of centers, and we have achieved that. The next person, if you see the Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam, you all will know about he's a rocket person. Like he is the first project director who have been involved in bringing up the SLV rocket, the satellite launch vehicle, which is one of the very important launch vehicle in our country in need. And he has involved as a project director and brought this launch vehicle in one of the best moment to cheer up and brought out many launch vehicle right now what we are having PSLV or GSLV or Mark 3. And the next person is Madhav Nair. So he is the person who is behind of launching a Chandrayaan mission. And the Chandrayaan mission is the first interplanetary missions of our country, and we launched in the first attempt, and he is behind that. And the next is Radhakrishnan sir. He is also like a person behind the Mars mission. So ISRO has gone to the Mars when no other country could able to attempt in the first attempt, and he is behind that. And now you all know about the our beloved chairman, Dr. K. Shivan sir. So these are the emperor people who has been contributed in a very higher level and brought our nations in the space elite clubs in the globally. So there are so many people out there, but the contributions and the visionaries is among these people. Next slide. So what is that space? What is the range activities of the space? If you try to see, the space is involved with various systems. So number one, you can see the rocket. So this is the rocket what we have been putting up the space. So rocket is a kind of a vehicle. For example, we want to travel somewhere like from Chennai to Madurai or Chennai to Bangalore. We need some vehicle to travel. It might be a bicycle or a car or a train or anything but it's like a vehicle. Same way, space is always involved with carrying the payload or carrying the satellite. We need a vehicle. That's what rocket has been used. So there are various types of rockets are there. It depends on the payloads, the enhanced the weight of the payload. So rocket has been classified to go to a smaller level of orbit or higher level of orbit, or even to go to Mars or Moon. So the next is satellite. So the satellite is very important, the objective, because the satellite is the one which we put up in the very higher orbit and try to see like applications oriented with various remote sensing or communications or navigation. To make these two to happen, I think we need infrastructure. So the infrastructure is that like launchpad. So launchpad is the one like where we can able to launch the rocket. And for the supporting the launchpad, we need a various subsystems like filling up the fuel and giving the power to the charging and then ignitions of the rocket. And so many subsystems are involved to build up the rocket and launch the rocket. And once the rocket is taken up, how we can able to monitor the rocket trajectory as well as the satellite orbiting position will be carried out with the radar. So there are like a world-class radars are there in each and every space station, and these will be like monitored from sitting in the ground station of Earth, and we can able to monitor something around 36,000 kilometer or much more higher than like 1,75,000 or 5,85,000 kilometer where the Mars are there. So these are the various applications. And one very important, if you try to see, this is the one of the ISS, we try to see like a previous slide. So this is the one like ISS, like we saw like an International Space Station. So if you try to see like whenever sometimes like you go outside and see, here is like a small kind of a star which always moves around the Earth. So that is nothing but International Space Station, which is developed by something around 7 countries of the world like America, Russia, Japan, and European space agencies. And they develop this like International Space Stations, which is running around the orbit, and they are trying to make this as like a base station from here Earth to space station, and from space stations to Mars or Moon or Jupiter can we able to go. And what is really happening in the atmosphere also been like a big studies going on in the space station. So that is what range activities is going on with the space. Next slide. So the space stations are there and launch pads are there. So this is the one like where you're seeing like various the global launch pads. So if you try to see like America is having almost something 4 to 5 launch pad, where like in South America, North America, and especially French Guiana is one of the important portion. They will try to launch the important launches for the Mars or Moon. And same way like you have Russia. So in the Russia also they have a launch pads, and the European Space Agencies is having a launch pads at France, and we have launch pads at China and Japan, and India is also prominent one that we have at Sriharikota. So Sriharikota is the one very important prominent place like the God's gift we can say, because it's almost like we try to call it as a SHAR. SHAR is nothing but Sriharikota high altitude range. So which means like from Sriharikota when we take a rocket, I think within a short period of time we can able to reach the orbit. That is like once you take up a rocket, you can easily reach up to the equator, which is the very minimum level of orbit. If you see from something like Russia or Japan, they have to take a long distance to travel to the orbit, where they have to incorporate a lots of fuel, or they have to build a very heavy rocket in order to reach the orbit. So India is one of the prominent place like we got a Sriharikota, so that easily we can able to take it to the orbit with the minimum level of fuel and minimum level of rocket. So next. So if you try to see like a brief history about the rocket in ISRO, so ISRO is already like almost we started somewhere in 1962. So it is like how they started the making up rocket. It's not like overall like overnight we can able to initiate the rocket. In 1962, NASA is almost like working in a very serious way of various studies, and they found that there is a kind of a magnetic field study is going in and around in India, especially in the place of Tumba. So Tumba is very near to the Trivandrum. So there they could able to see there is some kind of a good equatorial region where the magnetic field study and some kind of a change is happening in the upper atmosphere. So they approached Indian government and they want to do a small study in that places. So when they reached like Tumba and they like launched a small kind of a sounding rocket in 1963, there like our the father of space like Vikram Sarabhai has seen that what kind of a study they are doing it, and when he really see the importance of the rocket and satellite, he talked to the government. He initiated, yes, this kind of a technology is required for India. When independence is happened in somewhere in 1947, another 20 years we are entering into small space. If you try to see another 50 to 70 years, I think India should be like in space elite club, and we, the country, should enhance the technology, and we should have a separate launch pad, we should have a separate satellite, and we should also like reach to the Mars or Moon by our own Indian rocket and satellite. So that was the initiation has happened in 1962 to 63, and 1968. I think this Terrels, like nothing but Tumba equatorial regions of laboratory study, was dedicated by the Prime Minister of India for the development of a rocket. So in 1969, the first indigenous sounding rocket was developed. That is nothing but RH-75, which was launched in Terrels. A small sounding rocket which enabled us to go to somewhere around 20 or 30 or 50 or 200 kilometers and see what is the atmospheric changes happening, and we can bring it back. So with the development of the sounding rocket of RH-75, we have enhanced to RH-125 and RH-200. The 200 is nothing but like a 200. The amount of a kg of propellant was put up inside the rocket stage, and it was launched. And with the 1971, with the enhanced knowledge, India thought that we need to enter into a biggest rocket like SLV. So a separate team was formed in 1965 itself, and from there almost 20 years we were continuously working on it. And 1980, the first launch of SLV was launched, and that is what like the Abdul Kalam sir was a PSLV, the SLV project director. Under his leadership, the first launch of our country has been done at, which you will see the nearby slides. And after 1980, we have entered into ASLV. It is nothing but augmented satellite launch vehicle. But seems to be that augmented satellite launch vehicle is not like a successful mission. But the 4 launch, what we launched in ASLV was continuously failed. Now, I think in 1994, we launched PSLV. And from 1994 to 2020, all the 50 PSLV was successful. The success behind it, the ASLV, whatever we launched, 4 mission was failed. And the failed mission has given lots of lesson learned. Every lesson learned has given a biggest, the important success story of PSLV. And now the PSLV has become a workhorse of our Indian mission. And almost 330 satellite has been launched in the PSLV. And almost, I think, 63 countries satellite has been launched with PSLV. So always the ISRO success, always we say that it is not like individual. We learn more from the failure. And 2002, we launched GSLV. It is a geostationary launch vehicle. And 2014, the GSLV has converted to a biggest launch vehicle of GSLV Mark III. And 2016, the first experimental flight of RLVTD was done. RLVTD is nothing but reusable launch vehicle. Now you can see that the SpaceX, who goes take up the launch vehicle of Falcon, which goes to the orbit and come back, and they're going to reuse it. Same way, ISRO has also entered into in RLV mode. And 2017, we have launched the first, the commercial like D1 launch of GSLV Mark III. And very recently, if you try to see last year, 2019, I think the Chandrayaan 2 mission was carried out with the GSLV Mark III with 4.5 kg of 4.5 ton of satellite. And 2018, we have done recently for the crew escape system, which is a very important mission for our Gaganyaan. This crew escape system is going to carry out our own Indian soiled the astronaut, and they're going to go to the orbit, and they're going to be there for 7 days and come back. And that is the pad abort test was carried out at ISRO. So these are the various important missions the year-wise we have done it in the 1962 to 2020 right now. Next slide. So this is the one important what I said in 1960s. If you try to see a small rocket launch vehicle was carried out with bicycle. So 1960s, India got independence. We don't have much facilities. We don't have infrastructure. We don't have money. But still, the aspiring knowledge of our Indians like Abdul Kalam sir or Vikram Sarabhai or Satish Dhawan enabled us to launch a rocket. So you can see a smallest rocket was carried out in the cycle, and it has taken to the Terrels for the launching of a sounding rocket. Next slide. So this is what the life history of ISRO was started. And you can even see this is he is the person who's Abdul Kalam, and he is like Arama Mudar. So these two people have involved in making a satellite rocket stages in 1960s. So the amount of dedications, amount of inspiring knowledge has led to a biggest launch vehicle of GSLV Mark III right now. Next slide. So with them, the development, the first the sounding rocket was developed. It's nothing but like I said, like so many sounding rocket was developed, and this is the one of the biggest sounding rocket of RH Rohini 560. So you can see the amount of height and diameter is very huge, and this rocket is almost taken to the upper atmosphere for studying the what are the changes is happening in the upper atmosphere. And this satellite, this rocket has given lots of enhanced knowledge to go to the SLV rocket. Next slide. So after developing the sounding rocket, we want to get into the rocket, which we have to take it to the orbit level. So for making it an orbit level, it is not so easy to make a rocket and take it up to the flight, because every flight is something around a huge money is placed. If you try to see like each rocket is something cost around 100 crores or 200 crores or 500 crores. So before taking it to the flight, we need to do a ground level test. So that is what a static test is carried out for SLV. So in 1960s, I think the SLV was carried out with static test of 129 solid booster, and the solid boosters was qualified in the static mode, and we see that when it is qualified for static mode, it can be able to take it to the flight level. So that is what it is carried out in 1960s. Next slide. So when everything is qualified in 1979, the first maiden launch was being taken up to the launch pad. This is the like a complete structure of SLV. You can see the project director was none other than our People's President Abdul Kalam sir, and the Satish Dhawan, who is the chairman of ISRO. So they are going for the launch vehicle for the success of it on the August 10th, 1979 with the SLV. But all of us knows that the first launch was failed. So the India has taken almost 20 years of period of time to take its the first rocket to be put up satellites in the orbit. But I think with various subsystems, various components was put up in the rocket, and the first launch vehicle was failed, and that has given a very big lesson learned, and that is what has taken to the next launch vehicle of July 19, 1980. The second SLV was successful. Next slide. So this is about the sounding rocket. Next slide. So this is the first like SLV which we have taken from the ground station, and 1980s along with Abdul Kalam and the Satish Dhawan, the launch vehicle was successful, and that has entered into our space elite group of only like America or Russia or European Space Agency was launching the rocket and create a successful. But India was also entered in 1980s. You can see the complete component of the satellite. This is a very small satellite of something around 40 kg payload, which is nothing but our Rohini satellite, and we have Aryabhatta was taken into the payload as a SLV, and the SLV is almost having a 3-component rocket stage, and it was taken on 1980s, and we have proved that India also can be made a rocket, and we can give a successful to our nation. So it was done on that day. Next slide. So this is what how the SLV was taken up. So if you can try to see the trajectory of our SLV, I think all our physics students and lecture professors are there. I think the trajectory is very like important subjects for the physics people. So like we need to know like what kind of a trajectory or what kind of orbit we need to take up our satellite. So all the systems what we have made is to be like enabled with the successful parameters. All will be connected to the online computer board. Once this rocket is taken up, nothing is in our hand. So all has to be like monitored by the computer, or all has to be monitored by the rocketry system. So for example, once we take up a rocket, it has to go to the higher level that is away from our gravity. And once it has reached to the gravity, the first stage of our rocket has to be separated. Once it is separated, the second stage has to ignite it. Once it's ignited, it has to go to the another level of orbit where the heat shield will be separate. Once the heat shield is separate, we are against the gravity. And to like when we go against the gravity, it doesn't require much fuel to travel to the longer distance in space. So once the heat shield is separated, the rocket with a third and fourth stage will be taking up the satellite. So it has taken to the what level of orbit we want to go. Something 200 kilometer or 400 kilometer or 600 kilometer. So once our orbit has gone to the level of 600 kilometer, the fourth stage of a rocket will make a separations from the satellite, and the satellite will be injected into the orbit. From there, the satellite will be taken up. So all this, the trajectory, orbit finalization, the amount of fuel what is required in the rocket, the amount of components to function, everything will be calculated at the ground station. Everything will be inbuilt with the rocket system and the onboard system, and from there the launch sequence will be taken up. So imagine something like a car or bus, what we take up, something it is failed somewhere. I think we can stop and we can call some mechanic or some kind of a people, we can repair it. But rocket is nothing like once we initiate, I think it has to go for success or failure, because nothing can be taken to the onboard of space and do some repair and come back. So all the component, whatever we have, 1 lakh component, 10,000 systems, everything should be like a success mode. If any small component fail, the rocket will fail. If any the trajectory path, anything we have misused software code has been enabled, entire missions will be failed. So it is like it's like life. Like we can say that if rocket is going to take off from the ground station, it has to go to the orbit. Otherwise, it has to fail. So such a inbuilt system, such a inbuilt quality, components, everything will be enabled. Such a systems we are making up. That is what ISRO proudly we can say that PSLV almost 50 launch vehicle has been successful, and you see that the 50 launch vehicle there is no failure at all. That is the component what we give, the dedication of the people, dedication of the system, and dedication of our ISRO culture has taken to the biggest laurel. Next slide. So I said about the rocketry trajectory and what is really happening up. This is about the solid propellant, a small pictorial view, and liquid propellant. You can see the solid is nothing but it is enabled with both the oxidizer and fuel. For example, we have a bike or car, and you will need not to have some kind of oxidizer. You need only fill a fuel. Always we fill something around a petrol or diesel as a fuel, and when we ignite it, oxygen is there in the atmosphere. It will try to take up the oxygen, and it will enable us to burn the fuel, and we can able to drive the car or bike. But what has happened in the rocket, once we cross something around 30 kilometer or 40 kilometer, the amount of oxygen level will comes down. It's something around 2% or 4%. What is having in the earth is something 18%. It will never be in the atmosphere of iron orbit. So what we have to do, we have to inbuild both oxygen and fuel in a system, and along with that we need to have ignitions also. So you can see that both oxygen as well as the fuel will be completely like inbuilt with the rocket stage, and which will be connected with the ignition, and it has to be thrown out with the nozzle. So nozzle is the one which converts your heat energy into kinetic energy, which can able to lift off the rocket from the ground stage to the higher level. So this is what about the rocket propellant, solid propellant. If you come to the liquid propellant is having a separate tube tank. Which example, like you have a separate liquid fuel, you have a liquid oxidizer. So the both the fuels will be connected to a point of ignitions, like a combustion chamber. When both fuels touch each other, it will get burnt. So you do not have any external igniter or external matchbox, or nothing is required. The fuel, liquid oxidizer, and liquid fuel, when both touch, it's called like a pyrogon. There's a terminology called. So it doesn't require anything. It touch each other, it gets burnt, it gets ignited, and immediately rocket can take off from the ground station. This is a simple principle of solid as well as liquid. Same way, if you see cryo, we have a liquid hydrogen, liquid oxygen, and same way semi-cryo, if you go, we have a liquid kerosene and liquid oxygen. So these are the various components which we use it for our rocket stage, and it is followed in globally also. So right now, people use solid propellant, liquid propellant, semi-cryo or cryogenic to take up the rocket from the ground station to the orbit. Next slide. So this is about quite deep system about the solid and liquid propellant. What I said about like a pictorial. If you try to see the solid propellant, not easy to make it out. You need a motor case, you need a propellant, you need a inhibition, you need a insulation, and so many systems has been involved. It's all combinedly like a chemical structure. So lots of chemistry, chemical engineers will be involved in making the solid propellant, because solid propellant is one. Once you start giving ignitions, you cannot stop. So if it is ignited, it will take off to the orbit. Up till whatever the amount of propellant we give, it will be burned to that level, and it will be separated from the stages. Whereas if you try to see a liquid, I think you have a on and off cut system, where if you want to cut off the liquid system, you can cut off using our programming from the ground station, because it has a valve. So there will be a two valve will be connected with the liquid oxygen and liquid fuel. So that, for example, like when we go to the upper stage or fourth stage, we try to cut off sometimes the fuel also. Which means we can control from here whenever we want to burn, like give some kind of injection to the satellite. We use this like a liquid propellant. So we like switch on our control valves from sitting in the ground stations there, and something it will be like something around 30,000 kilometers away from us. So by the command, it takes up to the pump. So it will give a on connections, whereas fuel will come inside and oxygen will come inside. It will burn it. It will give a small injections. It will take to the level of something around some 10 meter per second of velocity. Then we'll give a cutoff, so that the small injection is sufficient to travel to a longer kilometer in space, because we don't have any kind of this gravity pull in the space. So we will try to use this liquid system very constantly. Whenever there is some injections of orbit or corrections of orbit is required, we will try to take it up. Otherwise, we will never use much component. Whereas if you try to see the solid is we cannot able to control it. Once it is ignited, it has to go. So especially why we use solid, why we use liquid. Solid is the one very important. It has a very good we can say like thrust. For example, when rocket is taking from the ground station, it needs high thrust. We can say the pickup in the bike we see always we need a good eye pickup so that when we try to take up a vehicle, car or bike, when pickup is there, we can able to push our vehicle in a very higher speed. So that is what solid propellant use. Because why the high thrust is required? We are in the gravity. Once we have to go away from the gravity, we need some kind of a component which need a high thrust. So solid propellant is having a good thrust. So from ground station to 30 to 40 or 50 kilometer, it gives a good thrust like to move away from our satellite. And secondary, for example, the liquid, we don't want like much thrust. We need a impulse, which we say that it is something like a mileage. For example, we want to travel long distance with lesser fuel, we use liquid engine. Even though liquid engine is not having a high thrust, when we go to higher altitude where the gravity is not there, where we can able to travel with a long distance, we need such a kind of a more engines like a fuel like a liquid or cryo. This is what the difference with solid and liquid. Next slide. So this is about PSLV. I said about SLV. After SLV, we have got inside the ASLV. ASLV is not a success mission, but we got lots of lesson learned. And from the lesson learned, we have taken to the PSLV. The PSLV is one of the workhorse launch vehicle, where this launch vehicle has taken our satellite to the Mars, taken our satellite to the Moon, and taken almost 104 satellite to the orbit of making a historical event. So what is the PSLV? PSLV is nothing but Polar Satellite Launch Vehicle. PSLV is having something 4 stages. Like first stage is solid propellant, what I said right now, and second stage is a liquid. Third stage again a solid. Fourth stage is again a liquid. So this 4 stage has been involved in making a rocket. That is what like right now we have enabled, and you see like the system involved inside is complexity. I said about one small solid and one small liquid, but we have combined all the 4 subsystems into the one rocket, and this is the where like we put a satellite, and this satellite will be like close with a closing nose of the heat shield, and it will be traveled up. So complete system is almost something around if you calculate, we have almost taken something around 180 tons of propellant will be taken up to launch any orbiting satellites, nearly to 1.5 tons of satellite. 1.5 tons, something around 1,500 to 1,800 kg of satellites only we can carry over with PSLV. If you want to carry out more tons of satellite, we cannot able to go with PSLV, but PSLV can go up to the level of Chandrayaan or Mangalyaan or everywhere. But to carry out a bigger satellite, we need a bigger amount of rocket. That is what we have done with GSLV and GSLV Mark III. Next slide. So this is on the PSLV. So these are the various segment what we are showing up, like a PSLV of first stage, which has been assembled. Next slide. Next slide. So this is on the PSLV workhorse, what we have been done it, which has been the launch pad. So you can see the eminent, the personality of Abdul Kalam sir, as well as like the Madhavan Nair who was also there. Once it is proved to the ground stations and it has become a workhorse in 1994 till today, I think PSLV is working with the various level of satellite launching, various level of trajectory fixation, and it takes up all the remote sensing satellites, commercial satellites, and communications, and even navigation satellite for our technology development. Next slide. The next one is GSLV. So GSLV, another biggest launch vehicle. It's all we know that it's almost 49 meters of tall, weighing 414 tons of propellant with cryogenic. So I said about one is solid, liquid, and this is where the cryogenic is being placed. So if you try to see this cryogenic is one important that we need to travel a long distance in the altitude, and especially the GSLV launch vehicle will carry the more geostationary satellites. For example, the geostationary satellites will be put up something around 36,000 kilometers from Earth. So to carry over 36,000, we need a higher impulsed engine, which we take it up as a cryogenic. And first launch of GSLV was successful in 2001 in March 28. From there, so many GSLV has been carried out from our Earth. Next slide. So this is about the GSLV. So it has a first stage, second stage, and third stage. And you can see solid, liquid, and cryo. And the payload, which is almost something around 2 tons to 2.5 tons of GTO orbit, is been classified for it. Next slide. This is the next generation of rocket which we are developing it. I think a Chandrayaan mission has been carried over from this launch vehicle. It is nothing but GSLV Mark III. You can see the GSLV Mark III is having a 200 tons of solid propellant and one L110 like 110 tons of liquid and cryogenic and satellite. So it's almost 630 tons of propellant, which means 630 into 1000 kg. If you put up how much tons of propellant has been taken up, and we can able to take something around 4.5 tons of satellite to the GTO orbit using this launch vehicle. Now this has become like a third world biggest rocket vehicle in the world, and we are very proud that you can see that initially I showed you a small rocket launch was carry over in the cycle, and now it's something around 630 tons of rocket has been carry over in the Chandrayaan mission was in the last year 2019. That is the amount of rocket system is India has contributed. We have built it, and today we can say that India indigenously built all the rocket systems with their own the Indian soil brain. Even you have 220 countries, I think only 6 or 7 countries able to build a rocket. India is one among that, and that is very prominently we can able to see that. Next slide. So these are the variety of rocket which we have been doing it right now. So you can see like SLV, which is done in 1980s, and ASLV 1992. Right now these two are not in the service, and PSLV in 1994 and GSLV in 2002, and Mark III is in 2014. So these are all currently in service. Right now the SSLV is one important small satellite launch vehicle is coming up. So that coming this year, I think you can see the first flight which is going to take up from the Indian soil. So SSLV, why it is required? Now, right now, I think so many satellites, they are trying to make it up as a nano, cube, and femto, what we have launched very recently. But making a small satellite, giving a higher technology is one we want to do that. And creating a small of 100 kg, 200 kg, we don't want to use a bigger launch vehicle. We can even use a smaller launch vehicle, and we can do a lots of experiment, and we can even make as a commercial. So that is what SSLV is being under development. Next slide. So I said about rocket. So you would have understand a peripheral about the rocket, what is India is using, what kind of rocket we use, how we have traveled. The next very important, the satellite. So the satellite is the one which put up in the rocket and goes to the orbit. So what is satellite? The first man-made satellite is made by Sputnik. So you all know that Russia is the first country able to take up this satellite, the very longer mission, and that's what we are seeing in the picture. Next slide. So what is satellite, and what is inbuilt to the satellite? So if you try to see, a satellite is nothing but is a kind of a body which combines all the transponders, solar cells, battery, and the usable items. And if you try to see that body is known as a bus, which is the component where all the satellites will be assembled, and where you will see a transponder, you will see important components, and this satellite will be connected with the solar cell. So the solar cell is the one important that you can able to generate the power in the orbit, where we cannot able to supply electricity sitting here in the earth and go. So we fix up the panel, solar panel, and this panel will be take up the energy from the sun, and with the sun, I think it will be able to give the power to the satellite. Sometimes when the panel could not able to get the electricity during the solar eclipse or moon eclipse, we will be always having a battery system. So the battery system will enable, will be charged by the solar system, and whenever there is a power loss from the panel, immediately battery will take up the power and can give up. That is what like we could able to continuously get the all the communications and TV channels, mobile phones without any interruptions. That is what satellite is doing. Next slide. So what kind of application satellite does? So very important, satellite is doing three important applications. One is remote sensing, communications, and navigations. What is about remote sensing? Remote sensing is the one, India is almost the topmost one in the entire world. Remote sensing is nothing but the weather monitoring, the agricultural improvement, and then mineral resource finding, water management, and then crop management, and forest development, city mapping. So much of development is there in remote sensing, especially if you see like weather. I think India is one of the prominent. Even we get so many cyclones, so many natural calamities, but with the help of satellite, we could able to trace up at what time, what period of area the cyclone is going to attack. So we can able to evacuate all the people from the place, and we could able to replace any like a zero life loss using a satellite application. Same way, whatever like minerals you want to go and see like where is the oil refinery or crude oil is there in India, we cannot go and dig every part of the country and see oil is there or not. So satellite sitting in somewhere around 700 kilometers, it can map up which part of the country is having oil rich reserves, or coal or whatever minerals, it can able to say this is the locations where the abundant oil reserves or iron content or steel is there. You can go and dig there, and you can able to take up the minerals, use it for our application. So such a way remote sensing is being used. What is about communication? The very important, I think, now everybody is communicated with the communications. One is TV, televisions, and the mobile phones, and much more applications for the defense and the navy system. So communications is the one important. Suppose all the satellites of our communications not working, you will know how much the satellite is improving our day-to-day life. Complete TV channels will be abundant. No mobile phones. Everything is mismatched. We cannot able to communicate anything to other people. That time only we will know the importance of satellites. So satellites is sitting somewhere under 36,000 kilometers away from us. It is monitoring our Earth. It is monitoring our country completely for 24 into 7 and gives all the informations what you needed. So that is what on the communications. Next slide. So these are the various remote sensing series. So from India, like something around 1980s to till today, we launched so many satellites for so many applications like Cartosat or IRS series or like a Megatropics, and even we try to launch more satellites for international people for the remote sensing. Next slide. This is on the communications. So various satellites. First, the Apple, which is the first communication satellite which we have launched. And here we try to see like a various transponder like a C band, S band, KU band, and various international, national coverages. Right now, I think when we something 20 years or 10 years before, we try to see only one channel like a Doordarshan. We have one antenna. But right now, you see the amount of technology applications. We have HD quality, and we have a high clarity. And initially, DD channel only was there. Now we can have 500 to 1,000 channels are there. It's all happening because of these satellites. So each and every satellite will be taken up to the orbit of 36,000 kilometers. From there, we can able to take it up. What kind of a channel is required? You want a sports? You want a movie? You want a cartoon? Any kind of things we can add it up. So that is what the ISRO is doing on the communication. It is like an inside family. We say like. Otherwise, also we try to say like GST, GST family, and that is what we are doing it. Next slide. This is what how like our enabled systems has been developed. If you try to see like from the early days to today, I think the remote sensing satellite, what I was saying, in the early days we used to develop so many like um, areas of application. Like something we developed a camera from the something 600 kilometer to 1,000 kilometer we are there. The camera will try to take a photograph of around 23-meter height, but the technology advancement has taken, and right now we have taken to 5.8 meter, and now we can even have 1 meter. So satellite sitting in somewhere around 600 kilometer, but it can take a photograph of resolution something at 1 meter. You see even what is happening inside your house and how the image qualifications and the local area imaging. Such a kind of a capable enhancement was carried out in each and every satellite. That is what like we see that ISRO is playing important role. Is not only launching a rocket or creating a satellite. The technology enhancement, technology capability is being done using the applications. Next slide. So this is on various systems, what I said. So national space systems, it is goes for the remote sensing, it goes for the communication, and it also not for the both the system. We go inside for interplanetary missions. Whether like a country like India can go to moon, can go to Mars, or can go to Jupiter, or what is happening in the sun? Yes, definitely. We not only go for mapping up or imaging up or creating a weather satellite. We want to create some more satellites for what is happening really in the moon. If tomorrow, after 100 years, I think just couple of days, if you try to see, NASA has launched the second the rover. The first rover is Curiosity, second is Perseverance. The Perseverance has gone inside the Mars and is doing its wonderful job. So NASA has already initiated, and after 100 years, they want to take it up. People of Americans to Mars, definitely why not India? So that is what India has also initiated in interplanetary mission, which are going to come on the next slide. Next slide. So before we go, this is what like a Sriharikota, you can see that where we take all the launch pads and the satellites, whatever we do. So it is one of the important launch stations of our country and located something 80 kilometers from the Chennai. And it is something around 175 square kilometer with a coastline of 50 kilometer surrounding area. And Pulicat Lake is one of the biggest bird sanctuary we have. It is covered with both the sides of water along with the sea. So This is where like Sriharikota were put up for all the launch vehicles. Starts from 1980s SLV till today. We are doing that. Next slide. So I said about the missions of Chandrayaan Mangalyaan. So ISRO has done that in PSLV C11 in 2008. The first mission of Chandrayaan was taken up, where the Chandrayaan, we always say Miles Samyanathan sir is one of the moon man of India. So under his leadership, the Chandrayaan was made. Next slide. So in October 2008, I think the mission of Chandrayaan was taken up from the Earth, and it is not so easy. This is the one slide I think all the physics people might be interesting to know that how it is easy to take up. See, for example, NASA or ESA, they have a very powerful rocket somewhere in 2008 or 5, so they can directly take to the moon from injections from the Earth. But ISRO, we don't have that such a powerful. We can able to take our rocket something around some 36,000 kilometers. From there, we need to travel to moon, which is almost something around 1,85,000. How we will do that? So we will enable more fuel into the moon satellite, and we will try to keep orbiting the satellites at various momentum. So, for example, when our rocket has gone and put the first orbit in the satellite, and this will try to take up orbiting of 36,000 to 42,000, then 84,000, then 1,00,000, and then it will go try to move around 1,50,000. When moon is nearly coming to the Earth's orbit, always the moon will not come to the nearer level of Earth orbit. It's something, if it is here, I think it is very difficult. So when it is coming nearer, we will plan the launch accordingly, so that at the time of period we can able to take the moon satellite. Once it is reached to the moon's orbit, again whatever we have incremental orbit we have taken, we have to decrement. So from almost something around the moon's higher orbit, it has to decrease to the lower level, and it has to come to the level of near to the moon. So this was the mission. First mission, I think India has taken a challenging one. Nobody in the world would have thought that India is going to enter into moon. Yes, we have done almost 12 years before. Next slide. So what we have seen it. So we should be very proud that we are the country that found water is there on the moon. Yes. Still, I think the Americans and Russians has taken so many launch vehicle, and even they say, I think our astronaut has landed on the moon, but they could not able to find a water molecule. But we have taken a specific study. That is what importantly ISRO does that. ISRO just not like a kind of a fashionable or to show some kind of a gimmick to the public. We don't want to go that. We really do a science experiment. That is what we have taken it, and this has gone to the moon. And we, the country, first evaluated water molecules are available in the moon, and that is what you are seeing the image of that. So MIP is one of the payload of our moon satellite, and the first picture of the moon has been carried out. So from here, I think we see the moon something like a silver or white, which is in the circle structure, but you can see the crater and the surface of the moon is here. So when we announce that water is available on the moon, every nations, every species is agreed. Even NASA has again the literature that they have collected the information, and they also approved that yes, water molecule found by the ISRO is right. So that a proud moment what we have given to the entire space agency is by the Chandrayaan. Next slide. So these are the various craters what we have seen, especially in the moons. So the pictures which is taken in the 16th November 2008, and you can see how the moon structures and the craters and the surface appears to be. Next slide. So after I think moon mission in 2008, what is next? So immediately I think ISRO wanted to go with Chandrayaan 2 with a rover and lander. But what has happened? I think rover and lander. I think we need some supporting system approval with the neighboring country like Russia. So Russia has approved to deliver a lander, and we will create an orbiter. As already for Chandrayaan we have done an orbiting. But as the day goes, I think it has taken a long progressing initiative. But in 2014, we found that the Mars is coming near to the Earth orbit, and if at all we try to launch some Mars mission, definitely we can reach the Mars mission in the shorter period of time, and we could able to explore the Mars also what is happening. So that is what the important mission of PSLV C25 was started, and we are the #1 country to enter into Mars without any failure. If you take Americans, if you take Russians, they are the country I think with Americans almost something 8 times they failed in the first time to reach to the Mars, and the Russians has failed 10 times in reaching the Mars. But we, the people, the first attempt itself, we have gone and reached the Mars, and we have created the history. And very recently, only China could able to go to Mars, but we are the number 3 country to go to the Mars before the Chinese could able to do that. So such a powerful missions we have carried out, and almost 5,85,000 kilometers we have been traveled. And to see that, I think 5,85,000 kilometer starts from Earth, from ground station, reach to the Mars. It's not so easy. Every system should perform. It is almost take something around 300 days. We try to launch somewhere in the September, October. We have gone to the Mars in the next year of September. Such a big missions, we could able to do that. And our country is the one country which we have done this mission in very cheapest. For example, our Prime Minister Narendra Modi ji has delivered in various international forum. Even the price of auto is very costly rather than our Mars mission, because the per kilometer auto charge something 12 rupees. We have done it 6 rupees per kilometer. So that is the dedication what we have done it. And definitely the next level of Mars mission is going to jointly hands with Maven of NASA and ISRO, and we are going to deliver a next level of mission in the coming days. Next slide. This is another record what we have done. PSLV C-37 with 107 satellites is a world record. So always we try to see that only like a Sachin Tendulkar or the movie heroes only like a go to the 100 level, 100 days. Nothing else. ISRO also done that. So carrying almost something around more than 100 satellites, and around something 80 satellites is for the commercial way of American countries. So in the first attempt of making 104 satellites in the rocket is done by India only. Before that, Russian used to do by 37 satellites. So again, ISRO can enable such a kind of a big process, and we have done that also. Next slide. So the important missions after all these things, you all know about Chandrayaan. So you all know the Chandrayaan, what has happened. But definitely we proudly moment we say that there are two important systems. One is like a orbiter and lander. So ISRO has taken the orbiter, still it is rotating in the moon's orbit. We are getting lots of information for another 5 years. But the lander and rover, which we have attempted, I think it has like a small technical challenges has happened and we could not able to reach. But definitely, I think traveling from Earth stations to 185,000 kilometer of moon, we have entered into that almost 2.4 kilometer. We could not able to touch this land surface. And ISRO is going to come in the near future of Chandrayaan 3, and we are going to achieve that. This is the Vikram and lander picture you are seeing that. Next slide. This is the orbiting stage, what I have shown in the Chandrayaan 1 and Chandrayaan 2 also same thing. So we try to orbit it in the various orbiting incremental orbit. Once we reach to the moon, we'll do a decremental orbit and we enter into the moon's orbit by the escape velocity, and we can go to the level of 100 and 200 kilometers. We can enter into the moon's path. Next slide. So this is about the rover. So inside the lander, we have a rover, which is something around 27 kg. So the very important what rover is going to do, it's going to have a camera-based 3D visions, which is nothing but a stethoscopic camera. So it can able to analyze the various soils and the minerals available on the moon, and it can able to give up all the data to the orbiter. From the orbiter, we can able to take up the system. So the rover life period is only one lunar. Why? Because the moon, almost 15 days, it will be in the normal temperature of something around 20 to 40 degree, whereas the remaining 15 days, it will go to the minus 140 degree. And during 140 degree, all the metals will become like a freeze. So that is what we have fixed up our satellite of rover for one lunar day. Next slide. So this is on the orbiter and rover, you can see. So this orbiter is right now on the moon surface, it is going up. And Chandrayaan 3 is going to take up only lander and rover, and we are going to launch it very soon, maybe this year or next year. And whatever we have missed our dreams, we are going to inbuild and we are going to cultivate that. Next slide. So the next important missions we are all looking forward is Gaganyaan. So it is nothing but taking humans to the space is the challenging one. You all know the one important Rakesh Sharma and Ravish Malhotra in 1970s, 1990s. I think when these people could able to take it to the lower level of orbit by the Russian rocket, now the Indian is also going to take up in the India at 75th independence. So almost the Gaganyaan project is going up with ISRO, and the soil of our country, almost the astronaut is being selected. The training is also going on in Russia. So very soon you can see that our own Indians, our own Indian rocket is going to take up to the orbit, and we are going to place our astronaut, be there for 7 days, and then bring back them safely. So that is what ISRO is working on. So what Rakesh Sharma has achieved, same way you or me in the coming days, we will do that. Next slide. But whatever it is, we all love our people's president, the missile man of our country, the rocket man, another than our APJ Abdul Kalam. So everybody cannot become like a chairman of ISRO or scientists or technologists. Each people have their own role. But whatever the role given to us, we are doing it. But definitely, I think each one of our Indians should have a patriotism that it's my nation, what we can do it for nation also. It is not that I become a CEO for a big company, or I become a MD for a big company. I work for myself and then I earn a good amount of money and I create a luxury life. It's not so. You all know about the people's president, our Abdul Kalam sir. He's not like always like a favorite for himself. He's been in ISRO, he's been in DRDO, he is the person behind the Pokhran atomic explosion. But still, he's concerned how our country can develop in a very bigger way, happiest and healthiest way. So he created a lot of visions like Vision 2020 and how the technology can be built up to the corner of the people. So many things he has done it. But ultimately, after this retirement from the president, he started a project called Pura. It's nothing but providing urban amenities to rural India, rural areas. So he said that whatever technology available in our country, which is we are enjoying only for the city people, like urban people, what is related to the rural India is still suffering. So why we cannot able to provide them a complete sanitation? Why we cannot provide them a complete electricity? Why we cannot give a good amount of water, a clean and drinking water and education for all? So it is an attempt for everybody. It is not that I can become a scientist, you can become a technologist, but wherever you are there, it is our nation, it is our country. We can also take off the dreams of Kalam sir and see that how we can achieve that. You have a powerful India, and our human asset is very, very important. What every country is looking for, because other countries is population of our like Indian population is something around 20 countries population, but the Indian population 70% are youth, and what we are seeing that youth is going to prominently work for our nation. If we all work together, definitely we will be in the number one. What space? I think we are in the number three. Almost the countries like Singapore or Malaysia, so many countries could not able to achieve in the rocket or satellite, but we have done that, and it's all indigenous. Our own brain has done that. Why we cannot achieve in the other sectors also? So that is what I will leave it to all the youngsters who are watching that. So always have a passion. It's not that Americans or Africans are going to come and clean our country. It is our duty to make our own country a proud moment. With that, next slide. So thank you so much for this great opportunity. Definitely, I think it's only a peripheral. Every technology is like a ocean. So I have just given a drop. So from the drop, definitely, I think the physics, the opportunity in ISRO is very huge, because you people are involved in space applications, and you people are involved in developing a satellite, also lots of NDT applications. So very happiest moment that I could able to enable and see you all here. Definitely we will see the next upcoming level that any of the MJR the people can also become a scientist and technologist in ISRO and work for the nations and create a new emerging technology what the world is looking forward. Thank you so much for all the opportunity and also the management of MJR. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir, for delivering a wonderful and informative session. It's time for question and answer session. Chitra, Assistant Professor, Department of Physics, will be asking key questions.
Thank you, sir. Really, your session was very informative, sir. I think audience have no question to ask you, but I have one question to ask you, sir. How was your experience launching that femto satellite, sir?
Yes, ma'am. Okay. We do a big launch vehicles like a PSLV, GSLV, and a bigger class of satellite. But FEMTO is like it's a science experiment. See, our country, like I think the dreams of Kalam sir, how the satellite technology can go and reach to the unreached people, especially the government school children. So they should also know the satellite is not a bigger technology. They can also handle it, and they can also build a satellite, assemble it, they can launch it. So the femto satellite is nothing like a smaller kind of satellite where it has only special applications. For example, the ozone thickness or some kind of a carbon dioxide analysis in the atmosphere or cosmic rays analyzer. So we developed a small sensor satellites, and these satellites will be equipped with the various components and enable them to put up in the case, and it can be launched. And this is not gone to the orbit, but it has gone to the level of a smaller level, something around 38 kilometers. The one very important to say that we are all living in the one of the biggest lockdown period where nobody would have thought about this COVID lockdown. But before COVID, the industrialization was very higher, and so much of industrialization was going on, and uh, the pollution level was increased. But after the lockdown, the pollution level has come down. But how much pollution level was come down, we are not knowing it. Only like countries like US and Europeans was doing it. So using the small commercial of femtosatellites by the hands of government school children, and whether we could be able to analyze what has happened after Corona. So we got a good amount of data. There is a was on the depletions is being increased, and it is a good amount. That is what even today I think we are seeing the Chennai is in rainy condition. It's something around February. We are not seeing such a kind of a drastic changes happened in the climatic. It is because of this lockdown, the reduced pollutions, and so many upper atmosphere change its own scenario. Always we say nature is has its own rules and regulations. We have diverted the rules and regulations in various aspects of industrialization and our own technology development, much more, many things. But today, I think it is taking its own recline, and the rainy is very, very important for us because we are all agricultural related country. If rain is not there, I think the amount of the hurdles we face by the agriculture is very high. And today that has happened. But really, scientifically, we have to prove what has really happened in the atmosphere, how we can able to enable that, how we can able to prevent and create a paper and submit it to the government and the institutions that the amount of pollutant to be reduced every year so that the climatic change will not happen every day.
Okay, sir. And one more question, sir. Why the stars are not blurred even though when the Earth is running, sir, moving, sir?
Which one, ma'am? Charge, sir?
Why the stars are not blurred even though our Earth is moving, sir?
That okay may not be okay. I may not be knowing about that, but it is because of like okay, it's like a magnetic field or equatorial what we have equipped with our own solar system. So might be because I'm not a physics, I'm a chemical engineer. So maybe
Okay.
I'll just get up and say.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, madam. Thank you, sir, for answering our questions. Our live YouTube streaming audiences, on behalf of Dr. NCR Educational and Research Institute, Phase 2 campus, thank you once again for accepting our invitation. We request to display the appreciation certificate Thank you. Now call upon Dr. P. Divya, Assistant Professor, Department of Physics, to deliver vote of thanks.
A very good morning, one and all gathered here. It's giving me an immense pleasure to deliver a vote of thanks for this national level seminar. First of all, I would like to thank our Honorable President, Sri ACS Arun Kumar, Vice Chancellor Dr. S. Geeta Lakshmi, Provost Dr. G. Gopalakrishnan, Register and Joint Register, who encouraged us to organize this national level webinar. I would like to thank our Dean, Dr. S. Manivannan, Deputy Dean Academic Dr. A.R. Arunachalam, Deputy Dean Administrator Mr. K. Sendil Kumar, who always supported us too for the success of our campus activities. I also thank our head of the department, Dr. S. Radhakrishnan, for his continuous support to organize this national level webinar. At this moment, I would like to thank our resource person, Mr.D.Gokul, project manager, SSLV scientist, ISRO, who delivered an excellent talk about space technology, and we have gained a knowledge about the space. Thank you so much, sir. I express my heartfelt thanks to all the participants who has participated in this event. I would like to thank Ganesh Babu, System Administrator, for doing poster and certificate. I would like to thank our Deputy Dean, Dr. A.R. Arunachalam, for helping SteamYard at the right time. Thank you so much, sir. Once again, I thank you all for participating in this event. Thank you so much.
Thank you, madam. The feedback assessment form is available in the YouTube description box. You are requested to complete and submit the form before today 2 p.m. Later, the form will be deactivated. The participation will be sent to registered email. Feedback assessment form is available in the YouTube box. You are requested to complete and submit the form before 2 p.m. Later, the form will be. This video will be ever available in our YouTube channel. Participants can view at any moment. We have to come to an end of the program. Hope everyone has gained knowledge. With the satisfaction of presenting good webinar, we wish to sign off and meet you in the next program. Don't forget to submit your feedback form and subscribe our YouTube channel, Dr. MGR University Phase 2 Digital Learning, for further updates about our program and videos. Thank you all.